Hey everybody, I just put some algae wafers here in my 125 gallon tank, and algae wafers are just about always a big hit with everybody, but plant loving fish absolutely love these algae wafers. They've got a lot more in them than just algae. They're very high in protein actually. They've got spirulina in them, and spirulina is just an amazing food, really good for your fish. And the first ingredient I found out looking at these algae wafers is actually fish meal. And they are guaranteed a minimum of 33% protein. So the other thing I looked at was the spirulina. And the spirulina is considered a, what did they call it, a whole protein or a complete protein, in that it has amino acids. So the high-calorie algae wafers, at least, I can't speak for any other brand, I just looked at the ingredients on the brand I use. The high-calorie algae wafers are actually really good food for a wide variety of fish. I mentioned recently that my Mayan cichlid in my native tank, I know a Mayan cichlid is not a native fish, but it did end up in my native tank, and the Mayan cichlid really loves these algae wafers. It kind of surprised me. I always think of a Mayan cichlid as being, more of an aggressive, a meat-eating, predatory type fish, but it absolutely loves those algae wafers. Now, of course, it also destroys crayfish and eats minnows, so it does get its protein in other places, but it really enjoys these algae wafers. This is what I was hoping to see. We've got one right here that's just darting away and hiding, and we've got another one of them right here. These are my chocolate zebras. They commonly get called chocolate zebra plecos. They are not technically plecostomus species. They are actually a hypancistris species. So they're not technically plecos, but for lack of a better word, everybody calls them plecos. So there's my chocolate zebra. There's one of them. I can't remember the L number off the top of my head. It's been so long since I've actually looked at the L number on them. They're just, if you look up a chocolate zebra pleco, I believe you're only going to come up with one L number for that, and that will be them. I have 3 of them in this tank, and I just had somebody ask me about them recently because I had an outbreak of ick in this tank. I think there's the other one in there. I think you can see his silhouette on that piece of rock to the left. And then here comes this one. So I had an outbreak of ick recently in this tank. And any animal that lives on the bottom, such as these little chocolate zebras here, are really pretty much the first to get whammed by an outbreak of ick, and they usually wind up getting covered with the little white spots. And in this case, it was sort of an unusual outbreak. I think the ick that I contaminated the tank with was already in its free swimming stage, or else it was about to be very soon. And when it got in the tank, I don't think it necessarily sort of came up from the bottom the way it would in a normal life cycle from ick. I think I put it directly into the water column because my Ctenopoma was one of the more affected fish. And it actually was more affected than even the clown loaches in this tank, which are considered scaleless fish. They're very susceptible to things like ick and any kind of external parasite that's going to get into a fish's skin. So it was just a weird, unusual sort of outbreak altogether, but I got through it no problem, no losses. As soon as I saw it, I was on top of it. We treated it both with medication and with heat. The heat is what pretty much did it right away, killed it off without any issue, and then I continued to medicate just to make sure, just secondarily to make sure nothing came back. So I did have somebody asking me about those little chocolate zebras, and since they were out and about, I wanted to at least shoot a little bit of video and say yes, indeed, they are fine, as is everybody in this tank. Again, we cleared the ick up without any issues whatsoever. Ick, if caught in time, really is nothing more than a nuisance. It's just something you got to deal with, but if you deal with it, it's very easy to kill. It's very easy to clear your tank of ick and not have any more issues with it. The trick is recognizing it, catching it in time, and doing something about it immediately, because if you leave it alone for too long, ick can go from being a nuisance to being what wiped out every single fish in your tank. So take ick seriously, but don't panic if you see it, because it really is very easily treatable. The only way it becomes dangerous is if you don't treat it and you ignore it thinking everything's going to be fine, it'll go away on its own. It will not. It will take out all your fish very quickly. So there's my snakeskin gourami, another plant-eating fish that will tear up those algae wafers and absolutely loves them. It's another one that's getting really big. I think he's about 8 inches long now. And I do say he because that is a male. I used to have a female in my gourami tank, but she died years ago, so I'm stuck with the one male. And I did have them together in a tank, but surprise, I was getting a lot of sexual aggression from the male towards the female, and eventually, just for her sake, I had to separate them, and that's why he's in this tank, and she stayed over in my gourami tank. Although, like I said, it's been a couple of years ago since she died, so we haven't had a female snakeskin gourami in quite a while. So if you hadn't realized already, there's no real point to this video. Just wanted to shoot something for tonight. It is Friday evening. I've been out and about all day, so I didn't really get a chance to do much. But since I was feeding this tank, and I had gotten a question about it recently, I thought now would be as good a time as any, just to sit here and have a little chat with everybody, let everybody enjoy my 125 along with me. But I am going to go ahead and wrap that up and call it good. We'll end it with one final look here at my beautiful, beautiful spotted tilapia. I absolutely love that fish. And I will say, as usual, thank you for watching. Make sure you're subscribed. You never know what you're going to get with me. Sometimes it's kind of a, like this video. And other times you get a lot more interesting stuff. I am still working on a project with my angelfish tank, and you don't want to miss any of that. That's going to be a pretty big reveal, but that won't be for probably another few days. I got to get around to, really getting in the mood to get in here and start hunkering down and getting some work done on that tank. But we're going to make some pretty big changes to my angelfish tank very soon. And again, if you're subscribed, you won't miss any of that. So thanks again for watching this one. Don't forget, this one's my 125-gallon tank. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you real soon in the next one.